Now I'm going to add something at a metaphysical level that science did not demonstrate. It was someone showing me an object saying, it's so weird that as I look at this object, it's tangible, but it will not be tangible the moment I will not be paying attention to it. Now, that is the human arrogance. Before there were humans to pay attention to something, did the universe exist? And the answer is yes, because we have objectively observed the reality that when we did not pay attention to the universe, it did exist. Because it has been there for like, I don't know, 15 billion years or something. Okay? So, the arrogance of the individual mind in separation, does not acknowledge that mind as consciousness is everywhere. And before there was a human to think stuff, there was something thinking stuff. And we would say, in a very non-scientific way, it's the mind of God. But there is a universal mind that in science we call the unified quantum field, which is conscious. And there's a single unique consciousness in there. The Hindu call it Brahma. This universal consciousness, it taught, not at the intellectual level, but at the first plane, for whoever knows about the 10 planes that I taught in other seminars, okay? There was a thinking that taught everything in nature. So there is an original mind who, at some extent, thought everything in a very light and subtle fashion. So everything happened according to the mind of divinity, okay, of the unique consciousness, let's say God again. So humans are made of that one consciousness, are made in the same laws. So as humans, we are becoming available to that consciousness. So we start to think, we start to have philosophy, we start to be conscious instead of simply reacting to natural things. And because we're the only creature that seems to be thinking at a very refined level, it's not the case, but we imagine we are, because we so love to be the unique creation of God. You know, the arrogance of men that says, God gave us everything. No, we're just another biological creature on this earth. Okay? Octopus is more intelligent than a human. 8 times more intelligent than a human. The only reason why the octopus does not evolve is that it doesn't have communication abilities. If the parent octopus could communicate their knowledge to children octopus as we teach our children, they would be the most evolved creature on the planet. And we would be just biological goo that they use as food or pets, okay? Alright? The octopus is the most intelligent creature on earth. The elephant outsurpasses us. The elephant has some level of communication ability, but very limited. It does pass on some wisdom, but it doesn't have tools to build buildings and boats and skyscrapers and computers and Wi-Fi systems, okay? It doesn't have enough tools. Because of its limitations at the biological level, it is more intelligent than us in potential, but doesn't have the physical tool to incarnate or to exploit that intellectual potential. So elephants, they do philosophize, but they start almost from scratch each time. So we think ourselves to be so intelligent. It's because we have 2 things: communication and tools right in our flesh. We're built that way in a very refined fashion. Okay? Our voice can emit so many different sounds in such a quick manner that others can be trained. You know, we start with the and point something, you know, ha, point another thing, say ooh, say, okay, it means take the ooh in the ha, and then bring it back to ooh, okay, and then we start to compute like this, and eventually we're not monkeys anymore, we're humans, and we believe God gave us everything. No, it just happened that way. Lucky for us, we can communicate and we can build stuff, right? So that's the arrogance of humans, right? It just happened. You know, Darwin is as right as whatever said in the Bible. Everything is a point of view according to their own limited view. Okay? So there is something that keeps the general tangibility of everything, but it's not necessarily solid. When, in the double slit experiment that we perceive stuff to be solid, it's still intangible, but whatever measurement tools we have can only demonstrate us that it is solid. Okay? The same way that presently, because I'm made of flesh, and I go like this, and my punch doesn't go through my palm. Okay? So my senses are telling me this is entirely, completely solid. Because the only tools I have to perceive that this is solid are my eyes, my ears, maybe ear and sound, but mostly my eyes, and my feeling, my touch, which are very gross senses compared to what is going on at the atomic level. So it's making it hard for me to perceive the intangibility of what I'm made. It makes me believe I'm fully tangible because the only thing that it perceives is the tangible part of me. It doesn't perceive the ocean of emptiness of which I'm made. Okay? You understand this? Breathe. The universal versus the localized, individualized mind. Okay? So, because we're in a spiritual class and not a scientific class, I don't mind bringing spirituality in there, which is not corroborated by science so far. Okay? So don't say, oh, this guy knows about quantum physics and you have to see a seminar, and then you have doctors of quantum physics thinking, you know, about reliable, tangible, objective, scientific information. Well, no, they're going to be deceived if they expect this seminar to be very scientific. So just in case you go back home and say, oh, we learn about quantum physics, you mostly learn about quantum metaphysics, okay? Which will allow you to have an experience eventually. So if the experience that comes out of this wisdom happens, although you cannot demonstrate it in a laboratory, you experience it, so you know it's true. Okay, we've got enough objective, valid demonstration that what I'm teaching you today works, because whoever was not afraid to go in metaphysics experienced it. Okay, and even a lot of doctors in quantum physics, very hardcore, objective people, got meditative experiences of oneness that they can't prove, but they lived it, so they know by themselves. It's just they lived it out of the gross senses, out of the grossness of this world, so they can't demonstrate it. Other people still have to live it by themselves. Okay? Now, this is not tangible. It is held in place, okay? Because each particle has also the feeling of oneness. Even in the separation of the atoms themselves, in themselves, there is something called, in each atom there is something called the strong force and the weak force. The strong force is what keeps the protons and neutrons together, and what keeps the quarks together to form protons and neutrons. I'm sparing you that. If you don't understand, it doesn't matter. The weak force is what allows the nucleus of, how do you say nucleus or nuclei? How do you say in English? Nucleus. The nucleus of the atom, what allows the nucleus to hold on to its electrons or its potential energy, okay, around it. So strong force is what keeps the core together. The weak force is what keeps the atom as a whole together. But the weak force is not as strong as the strong force. So sometimes an electron will just fall out and go into another, and it will simulate this love, okay, of an electron that goes from this one to that atom, and then it flows, okay? It flows back and forth and they share it, okay? So it takes just one electron, one part of the atom. It is not required for everything of this atom to share everything to this atom, okay? It just takes one thing, okay? Just keep it together, okay? Or else it just flows up, okay? When we see a picture, now look, it's starting to look like a, you know, Amazon bog or something. You know, two eyes with the frowning. Just need a Now we got it. All right. That's evil. Okay? That's the power of separation. It's an illusion, of course. I'm just playing. Now, our senses tell us that we are tangible. But the truth is that we are not. We've never been. Okay? It's a misperception. Breathe. We're afraid of losing tangibility, where in fact we never had it. We simply have all our senses and our intellect tell us that we're tangible, but we're not. Well, we are tangible in the sense that if I try to push my hand to this wall, it doesn't go through. Okay? But it's not because I'm made of mass and solids, because of this energy that pushes because of that denial. Okay? And some people master the denial at the physical level, and if they want to go through something, they can. Okay? It's rare, but I've seen it, but you don't have to take my word for it. I didn't do it myself. I prefer charging powers at the emotional and mental level to help you understand faster and get to this experience of love faster. Okay? Sometimes I do stuff physically, but shh, advanced disciples, shut up. An atom. We believe it to be a hard core, but it's actually just a very strong potential, tight, okay? It's very tight. It's just consciousness tightly wrapped on itself, okay? In Sanskrit, energy that is very tightly wrapped, okay, it's two words. The tightly wrapped energy is kundalini. Okay, it's Sanskrit word for the consciousness which is very strongly wrapped on itself, because it's trying to hold on itself, the strong force we have inside. Okay, so physically we have that experience which is kundalini, because it's that raw power. But it's actually made of waves that are very close. You see, I made some little circles. It's made of waves that are very tightly wrapped and roll on each other. Now the electrons. We were shown that electrons, you know, at high school, that there are dots swirling around. But they took photos of electrons, and actually it's like wavy like this. It's just waves. And where the wave becomes darker, we believe that here, and here was a tangible granular particle, which is an electron. Because for a long time, we only had tools that could show us the gross agglomeration of the waves. And we said, there's dot here, dot here, dot here. It's an atom with 3 electrons. So it should have 3 protons, 3 neutrons inside. Okay? But actually, now that we have refined our ability to take pictures of atoms, we see that electrons are potential energy waves, very flowing into one another. So they're not even granular. They successfully got a way to photograph, or actually at least render a visual of what is going on at the atomic level, and demonstrate our intangibility, even at the particle of this energy that flows to one and another. Okay, so all of this is the science of what the universe is made of. This is now scientifically accepted, but it's still not metaphysically accepted by our ego that counts dearly on its localized individual mind. Okay, we are afraid of losing ourselves